believe that creativity is an absolutely critical skill for young people in the future. What we're trying to do is really build a profound understanding of what works in this work when you bring together people from outside the school and inside the school to shape exciting, vibrant, dynamic learning opportunities for children, with children and young people themselves leading the learning rather than the traditional model of education where the teacher stands at the front and tells the children what they need to learn.
In the United States, there's been a huge emphasis on math and reading test scores. And in some cases, that's made it problematic to develop an education for young people that really matches their needs for skill development for the 21st century.
We are currently working with the Department of Children, Schools and Families to develop some advice for schools across the country about creativity. This is a big launch event, really, where we're trying to create new networks between people. We want to reach a tipping point where the kind of work that we do becomes the way that schools and community organisations that work with young people, it's the way that they work.
There's the beginning of a new movement to look at 21st century learning skills, innovation, creativity, persistence, collaboration. And that's the cutting edge of our work, and that's the cutting edge of the work here in the UK. And it's very important that we exchange across contexts.
Too much of this work is merely descriptive, or it's research-based and quite inaccessible to practitioners. We want to make sure that what we're doing is of real value to people working directly with children and young people and to the young people themselves.
I think it's really necessary to have days like today where you come out of the kind of immediacy of your local environment, the busyness, the sort of politics, the things that are kind of going on in your head, to reflect, take a step back and reflect collectively.
Any initiative like CAPE is critical to kind of breaking down a lot of educational barriers that kind of exist in a lot of schools, and we've got to look towards innovative education.
So we want today to be a catalyst for change. We've structured the day on 3 key themes, and these are the key themes that CAPE has been pursuing really from the outset of our work. So the first is creativity. We believe that's one of the absolutely core capacities that young people need to face the future. The second area that we're wanting to focus on today is partnership. You design and you develop new innovative approaches by interacting with people from a very different world. The third area is inquiry. If every practitioner is really thinking, what am I trying to do here? What am I trying to achieve? We know from our practice and we know from our research that even when the investment is smaller, you get bigger rewards. I now want to introduce our first speaker, Valerie Hannon. I'm sure that Valerie will be provocative because she has a history of being provocative, so we're in the best hands for our first keynote of the morning.
The first of the themes in your conference pack, you'll notice, is surviving and thriving in a changing educational landscape, which suggested that it would be helpful to someone like me to talk a bit about the policy environment. And indeed, the policy environment has been my stamping ground for the last decade or so. But I must say to you that I find it now a shallow and rather infertile field. The passion that you all bring to the realisation of young people's creativity is going to be best served by making explicit and acting on the scope for and the necessity of connection. Connection at many, many levels. And we are working, I'd suggest to you, in an environment of disconnects. It's with one of the fundamental disconnects, it seems to me, is the disconnect between young people's lives in schools and the lives which they lead outside of school, which are wired, and their experience within school fundamentally is like flatlining in comparison. Let me say a little bit about the financial crisis, the degree to which it is going to, yes, certainly impact on our public services, but require each of us to rethink very fundamentally what we do. You've got 2 choices. You can make it less and worse, or you can radically rethink. Only connect, that was the whole of her sermon. Only connect the prose and the passion, and both will be exalted, and human love will be seen at its height. Live in fragments no longer. Thanks very much for listening.
I thought Valerie's keynote was fantastic. I thought it was really provocative, really made everybody think. I thought it set the tone for the day.
I thought the first keynote speech was fantastic and genuinely is unlike anything I've heard before at these kind of things, and actually would have come just for that.
Picking up on Valerie's theme this morning, I think we've been encouraged to be provocative. I think that the journey I've been on over the last 2-3 weeks reading up about partnerships has made me, I think, get quite concerned about where we might be on this issue. We've got to really invest in developing the skills, the competencies, the understanding of everyone we bring round the table. And if we don't do that, we're not being fair, because we will result in a situation in which their contribution will be peripheral. And I kind of wonder whether that core vision of a partnership of a lot of equal people coming round the table and really jointly being able to shape the future of something they're doing, either a programme or at a programmatic or at a structural level, actually is a romantic myth. So that's what you can talk about for the rest of the morning. Thank you very much indeed.
I want us to kind of really consider the issues rather than just listening to similar debates over and over again. So I'm very optimistic about the day ahead, and I've heard some fantastic speakers already.
I was a science teacher in mainstream schools for 10 years working in inner cities, so I know how vital it is to have resources like this so we can actually get out there and encourage some of these students to pursue a career in science. It's absolutely vital that resources like this are available, because this is something that actually brings science and space and everything else to life for some of these young students that wouldn't otherwise see it. So it's fantastic.
So Enquiry does appear to be a powerful means of professional learning and learning for all in the process, with potential direct impact on pedagogy, students and external partners. Many of the challenges came from not having really taken on board what inquiring into one's practice might mean. I would like to urge us to really consider the extent to which the learning conversations which emerge from co-participative inquiry really do need to attend to those ongoing changes in childhood and youth that I talked about earlier on: plurality, possibilities, playfulness and participation. Margaret Ferguson once said, "The gate of change is locked on the inside," which I just love. Let's take that opportunity to unlock the gate of change in this next bit of the afternoon.
The reason I'm here at the conference today is I brought a group of children who are our media team. We've got a radio station at school, so that's why we're here today interviewing delegates. I really do think we provide a first-class curriculum, and it's down to the support and finance that we get from Cape UK. Now, I would say that creativity is absolutely essential if we are to equip our learners for the 21st century. It's not an add-on, or it's not a luxury, it's essential.
Everybody's creative all of the time, and actually a lot of the time they don't even realise that they're being creative. So I think luxury or lifeline, it's part of life.
My brain aches. That's a good thing.
So we're getting to my observations from today. So there were a couple quotes that really struck me. There's never been a better time to embark on a complete rethink of our priorities. And as Anna was just saying, the future's already here, it's just unevenly distributed. Pat and I talk a lot about the importance of practitioner-to-practitioner dialogue in any change system, that the value of having a creative practitioner and an educator collaborating is not that they're going to agree on everything. We think that dissonance is actually good. That if the teacher and a visiting artist or a visiting scientist think too much alike, there's no growth. And I think it's really important for students to see two adults with different perspectives respectfully negotiating a difference. There's a lot of knowledge in this room that we haven't represented well outside our immediate circles. We need to think about how we share it to multiple audiences, and I thank you.
What we're aiming to do is to bring together policy, practice, research, to really reflect on the key nuggets of learning that make this work effective. So it's quite a challenge, but we're confident that we're ready to meet that challenge.